Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Lord KO here, and today we have a pretty different subject matter on the channel here today. In the past, I've pretty much been doing exclusively game content on this channel, but a few other things definitely piqued my interest. Mainly like really different forms of media, you know, TV, movies, music, etc. Really good stuff, or things that I just think are really well done that maybe don't get as much shine as other shows. And at the top of that list probably is going to be Californication. Californication, I first watched about 5 years ago on Netflix, and I was definitely highly enamored with that. I thought it was a very different show, and I really liked the dynamics and the relationships and kind of the execution and the writing that they used throughout the entire, for the majority rather, of the show's premise. Towards season 7 and some of 5, shit started going off the rails. I think everybody would agree with that. But what I want to talk to about today is going to be what I believe to be the best episode of Californication, which I believe is Mea Culpa. I'm going to go over, you know, my stances, my points, the positives and negatives, and kind of understand that for the most part, most people do tend to lean towards the apartment when it comes to the best episodes of Californication. But I kind of want to go into why I think Mea Culpa definitely edges it out as the best episode for Californication. And I'll kind of go over just my brief history with the show and why I think, you know, it's definitely very underrated. I think most people know about the show, but they just really don't, you know, they don't revisit or anything like that. It's now on Hulu, so definitely check it out there. It definitely still is one of my favorite shows. I think seasons 1 through 4 are classics for sure. Definitely like season 3, season 2, knockouts. They're just absolutely insane. You know, I've actually had this as my Twitter header for about at least 4 years now. So that goes to show anything how long I'm rocking with the show. It's just, I think Hank Moody is definitely one of my favorite characters of all time when it comes to media. He is just there's so many elements about him. I think I'm gonna do a video breakdown on him at some point. But I think this will be a 3 or 4 part series where I just go over a couple things about Californication. I'll do the best episode, you know, the appeal of Hank Moody, and maybe a couple other subject matters. But let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to break down why I think this is the best episode. Give me a shout out on Twitter, handle down below. Let's go ahead and jump into it, baby. Let's roll that intro. And you know, we're talking about Californication, so it's only right. It's only right. I will be drinking while we do this. Let's go. Okay, so like I said earlier, boys, I originally watched the show back in 2015, you know, on Netflix. And, you know, I remember back then thinking, damn, this episode in particular, it's insanely well done. Like, this is some real top shelf TV right here, baby. Californication has always been a really interesting show. You know, it's definitely filled a very specific vein for the average TV going audience that really many of us hadn't really experienced before. Wouldn't consider myself a huge TV junkie. I don't really keep up with everything that's out there, but this one in particular definitely stood out right from the first episode. You know, at the time, the very absurd and over the top nature of the show, tied with its very raw depictions of both love and family, in my opinion, is a very perfect cocktail for an afternoon of vicarious living through the eyes of one young Hank Moody. So let's get on to why I think this edges out the other candidates as the penultimate episode for Californication. While researching this video, I perused a hell of a lot of top 10 lists and kind of had the same results with all of them, and they were somewhat expected, honestly. Almost unanimously, most people voted for season 3's episode 8, The Apartment, as their most favorite episode of all time. And now this is definitely an insanely great episode. It plays to what, in my opinion, is just the surface layer of Californication, you know, as what the show has to offer. Hank being a master Lothario and really winding up in one crazy ass situation after another and trying to get his way out of it. You know what I mean? I think that's what keeps the casual audience engaged with this entire show. You know, while this is entertaining, no doubt, I mean, who definitely wouldn't want to see 3 absolutely gorgeous women throwing themselves at our lead character in the span of 15-minute segment, and ultimately finding out about one another in the most fucked up manner possible? That literally is the best primetime TV would ever have to offer. You know what I mean? But that really isn't what kept me coming back to the show, you know, over 5 years. And with casual rewatches, the heart of Californication, in my opinion, will always be that one of young Hank Moody attempting to get his shit together and attempt to do better for the one he loves. On one level or another, we can all relate to wanting to be better and at sometimes failing absolutely abysmally in our own self-destructive processes, which Hank unfortunately is just the king of. Okay, so on to the episode. Right out the gate, we're presented with a very happy and recently reconciled moody residents that only means one thing when it comes to Californication. The other shoe is about to drop in sometimes a very, very massive, devastating way for our characters. The writing team of this show does a really good job at really lulling us into a full sense of security, only for the bottom to drop out beneath us in an unexpected and often hilarious fashion. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those times. The appearance of Mia early on in this episode after having been MIA, you see what I did there? Okay, all right. For the better part of the season, drops clever foreshadowing that this ship might be going left for in the worst possible way for our favorite Californian gigolo. As the episode progresses, the writers again do a very good job of keeping us in suspense as if Hank will be able to finesse his way out of this one, or will his greatest sin from the first 30 minutes of us knowing him as a viewer come back and break everything he struggled to keep together for this entire season. On the flip side of the fence, our favorite degenerate couple, the Runkles, seems to have finally found their way back to each other in the most backward ass ways that only they can. After spending the night with Marcy in the season finale, Charlie is easily on cloud 9. Gets out of bed, saunters downstairs to find that it all seemingly was for naught, as Marcy is pretty steadfast in her want for a divorce. That was absolutely brutal. I remember seeing this for the first time, definitely. If you're a Charlie fan out there, I know he can be a crude character, comedic relief, he does over the top stuff, but seeing him stare at that divorce paper, that was a real shot in the gut for a lot of us. And, from the audience perspective, as the season went on, it became quite clear that Marcy she wasn't quite there, you know what I mean? She wasn't really 100% open to reconciliation in the same way that Charlie was very eager to get her to reconcile. Eventually they do reconcile later down the road, spoiler alerts, but it's just, really, really, his heart was straight up ripped out, you know what I mean? So it really shows us that, that happily ever after is very far down the road, even though a lot of us thought this entire plot might be wrapped up at the conclusion of this. Jumping over to quite possibly one of the best dynamics of the series, at least from season 1 to 4, it's going to be Becca and Hank. Here we get to see Becca letting her father know that she has lost her virginity to a college student. Wait, hold up. Isn't she's underage and he's in college? Wait, so that would mean that... Okay, wait, what? Anyway, her electing to tell Hank first while simultaneously keeping her mother in the dark for this very critical moment in her self-development shows despite the real highs and lows that they experienced during the season, let's not forget about this.
Funny to me. I fucking hate you!
And I fucking hate you too, you little shit!
Her trust in him was as solid as, as ever, for right now, the second anyway. This is a really, truly great showcase of the on-set synergy between Duchovny and Melanie Martin, and something that unfortunately we got to see less and less as the show went on. This, in many cases, is just an absolute bummer. I think that the father-daughter dynamic between Hank and Becca was so well crafted and executed consistently. For the most part of the actual series, it was Becca and not Karen that was actually always kind of G-checking Hank as far as like, you're fucking up, you know what I mean? You're off the rails again, or you're doing X, Y, and Z again. In many places, she kind of was a parent to him, she helped him grow up as well. And to see that kind of dwindle as the series kind of progressed was a bit of a bummer. A little bit of a tangent there. Flipping back over to Hank, he goes over to talk to Mia, kind of ill-advised, honestly, to see about dissuading her plan to go public and implore her to think about what kind of impact this would have on both Karen and Becca, how they would take this news. And he almost succeeds before being interrupted by Mia's boyfriend. Now, you can say a lot of things about Hank Moody, positive and negative, but one of the main key qualities that we can all really appreciate about Hank is that he definitely has a core set of principles that he strives to live by. So when he sees that Mia is just kind of being outright manipulated by her boyfriend, he definitely, that rubs him very much the wrong way. He does do a pretty good job of conveying the feeling that, he's doing more so to look out for Mia as opposed to, get his own ass out the fire, which, obviously this would be a calamity if this was to happen, if this shit got out. So I felt that scene was really well executed where, he was trying to let her know like, hey, I'm still he's always kind of taken up that fatherly role mantle because her father really wasn't around. She was kind of doing her own thing. He does try and help her out in the Lou Ashby situation. And he even tells Lou at one point, hey, don't do anything. She's a delicate flower. And that doesn't really fucking stop anything, but he tries anyway, you know what I mean? Wait, hold on now. There's another underage girl with the... Hey, what's going on in the show?
Where's that police officer? I need a police officer. Could you come here, please?
Unfortunately for our hero, Hank is not able to keep it together. He immediately gets his Irish up during the confrontation.
Like I'm getting your Irish up there, son.
Which was foreshadowed by the interaction that they had earlier at Mia's launch party, which just leads to him flat out assaulting him at the pool. Mia's boyfriend letting him know, you're fucked. I'm gonna go ahead and call the cops. It's over. That he had underage sex with Mia while she was still 16. And from that point on, let's go ahead and dive into some of the nuances of this scene. When the boyfriend initially approaches Hank, he's completely open to attempting to kind of quash the incident and keep it as quiet and non-inflammatory as possible, right? For some reason, Hank just takes immediate offense to this and just kind of balks at the idea of anything except for like complete complicity and complete silence regarding the whole overall incident. Now, while most of us here all love Hank, this is definitely one of his worst traits. And it comes to light in this situation, his lack of compromise and his just flat out self-destructive tendencies are just on full bloom here. And he pays dearly for his unwillingness to negotiate or even discuss any options outside of just complete, don't do this. When we see this man walking through the door at the end of the episode, we all already know what time it is. The chickens have come home to roost, baby. The decision to cut the audio midway while Hank is coming clean to Karen about his indiscretion is absolutely the cherry on the top, and it's all downhill from there. Hank Moody has finally completely self-destructed. Now, while a lot of people remember this episode for the excellent use of Elton John's Rocket Man during the Hank x Karen blowout at the conclusion of the episode, and the emotional resonance of showing us that our beloved scoundrel over hero had fucked up for the final time, seemingly, I actually think that the scene with Hank confronting Mia's boyfriend about his attempt to profit from this mess of a situation is a standout scene from this entire season, and it's easily one of the best scenes in all of Californication. While we do get to see Hank tussle his fair share throughout the history of the show, this is one of the only times that Duchovny's dramatic acting chops are put to any real use in this series, and easily takes the cake for me when it comes to the most tense interaction within the entire scene.
You think this shit is funny?
No. I think it's a fucking disaster. My biggest client is a fraud. I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation.
Fuck you. You're trying to capitalize on a bad situation.
Look, I know that you're all pissed off at the world right now and you want to take it out on me. But just remember, I'm not the one that fucked that underage girl. At least I waited till she was 18.
Hey. So let me know what you guys think below. What's your favorite episode? I plan on doing a few more of these Californication videos. I just fucking love this show, honestly. I'm just a huge fan of it. I'm gonna do a couple of things about Hank, kind of some of the dynamics. I think one thing I definitely want to do is gonna be Hank and Batesy, and I love their dynamic, and I want to definitely dive into that. But let me know what you think, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Give me a shout on Twitter. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.